Well, good morning, viewers. Today we're working on this 2014 Silverado again with the P0446. Yesterday I did a purge and seal test and cleaned the gas cap, although it didn't look bad. Check engine light is not currently on, but I monitored evap data on the road test this morning, and as you can see, evap fault history is excessive vacuum. And at some point during this recording, I haven't viewed it yet, it hit negative 16 inches of water, which is too high. I think if it hits more than 10, it sets a code for excessive vacuum. Now, the P0446 code is a performance code, so it's either insufficient vacuum, excessive vacuum. Now, it could be a vent solenoid that's sticking. That could be a purge solenoid that's sticking. It's hard to say. I see it sitting at negative 3 inches of water. And it's at 20% purge, and the vent solenoid is currently venting, so that seems reasonable. So I'm going to save this recording and then go back and analyze it. I think I caught it before. Well, I must have caught it, because we'll see what the value is when it's set the excessive purge. So I replayed the data very early in the recording, 663 frames. You can see that the purge solenoid went to 100% duty cycle, and the vacuum dropped to 16.12 inches of water, and that's when it's tripped the fault code for excessive vacuum, when it hit 16.12 inches of water. So I think, based on that the vent is plugged. The vent solenoid might be sticking. I don't think it should build up that much vacuum if it's venting, and even with 100% purge. So I'm going to try and command the vent solenoid on and off and listen to it click. So we're going to look at DTCs. Even though the MIL is not currently on yet, we do have the P0446 code returned. Emission system, vent system performance. Test not passed since DTC cleared. Current DTC since power up. So I'm sure on the next drive cycle it's going to illuminate the MIL. It's not currently on. So I'm reviewing the data that I recorded yesterday on my road test into town, which was about 35 kilometers. And it had set the P0456, or I think it was 446 code as pending. You can see here it set a code for excessive vacuum. It hit about negative 16 inches of water pressure. So there's a problem with the system. It's either purging when it shouldn't be purging, or not venting correctly. You can see the vent solenoid was commanded on, or commanded to the venting position. Whether that's on or off, I'm not sure. I think that's venting is on. And the purge solenoid was commanded to 100%. You can see that, and it's about 6 minutes into a run cycle. One thing I do like about the Snap-on tools is they do a really good job of recording lots of data to replay, especially if you use ShopStream Connect software to view it after the fact, where you can totally customize up to 16 graphs, zoom in and range the graphs in whatever order you like. The ShopStream Connect software is available from Snap-on for free, and that's something you don't usually hear in the same sentence, is Snap-on and free. But it is, and it works really quite well. So you can see here when it set the fault code for excessive vacuum, it hit negative 16 inches of water. It was commanding 100% vent or purge, and the vent was commanded open or venting. So if there's a restriction in the system, it might build excessive vacuum. I think anything over 10 inches is usually sets a code for excessive vacuum. I'm going to command the solenoid on and off and listen for it. So I've got a custom data list built right now looking at, and I'm in the output controls for the vent solenoid. So you can see the vent solenoid is venting right now, and if I click this, you should hear a click. I hope the camera's picking that up. Not my mouse clicking. So it's physically clicking, and there's no pressure in the tank now. So I'm going to start it and run it, and hopefully the purge solenoid will be activated as a normal purge condition of 10 or 20%, and we'll see if it still builds up vacuum with it venting. So I got it not venting, and you can see it's building up a vacuum. Very little vacuum, but slight vacuum now. That could be because the pump is extracting fuel out of the tank. Remember, 0.35 inches of water is virtually nothing in PSI. See if it bleeds any kind of vacuum. Yeah, the vent's working. So you can see the pressure bled off when I vented it. I don't think it's a purge solenoid sticking because it was commanding 100% purge when it went into excessive vacuum. So I think it's a vent problem, not a purge problem. I've had purge solenoid stick and it'll flow fumes back into the intake manifold. So for whatever reason the purge solenoid is not being commanded on, probably because it's not in closed loop yet. So it's not venting now, and it's not building a vacuum in the tank, not any significant amount. If that purge solenoid was leaking, it would develop a vacuum in the tank immediately. Let's try commanding the purge solenoid on and off. Purge and seal, purge solenoid. Inches of water. It's purging at 10% now, and the vent solenoid status is venting. Let's command it up. So you can see the negative pressure building in the tank at 20%, 30%. Let's see what negative pressure it trips in over, usually about 10 inches. It'll say excessive pressure or vacuum in the tank. And it'll abort the test. Now, why would it be building a vacuum when it's venting? The vent solenoid is venting. I'm going to lift this up and take the vent filter off of the vent solenoid. So there's the vent solenoid, and there's the line going to the filter up by the filler neck. So if we can take this line off and retest it at 40% purge, it was building up negative 10 inches of water pressure in the tank. I think I can pull this line off, so I'm going to try that. Okay, so I got the vent hose disconnected from the purge or vent solenoid, and I'm commanding 20, 30, 40%. Still building up a slight vacuum, but not nearly as much. It went to negative 10 before, and now it's only going to negative 1. So I think that vent solenoid is plugged, or the vent hose is plugged. I'll show you what I did. So I actually had to cut the hose, but it's more than long enough to rejoin it. So I got this plugged, or I think this hose is going to the filter up by the filler neck, and I think it's plugged. So I'm going to blow some air pressure through it and see if any dust comes out. So there you can see the convoluted plastic line going up to the filter on top of above the filler neck. So I'm going to blow some air pressure through that vent. So I'm going to put some air pressure on that hose. Oh, lots of dust. So I'm going to repeat the test after I stick the hose back on and see how it fares. So I had to use a heat gun to warm up that plastic tube to push it back on. Let's try this again now. 40%. Maximum it's reaching now is -3 inches of water. So that vent was full of dust. Just blowing it out I think will fix it. I'm going to take it for a road test, but I got to wait for it to cool off because it won't do a purging. It won't do a test on the system unless it's cool. So the next drive cycle will work. I'll try this evap service bay test, but it's probably too hot. Well, I've turned the key off for 10 seconds and back on again. Yeah, see, it's too hot to run the test. So GM doesn't let you run an evap service bay test if the engine is too warm because of the heat generated by the engine compartment, I believe. So we'll have to wait till tomorrow and let it run the test automatically. Let's clear the codes. You should have a 446 code in history. Clear codes. Yeah, they're gone now. So we'll wait till tomorrow morning and try it over again. So it's the next morning. We're going to take this truck for a road test and see if it'll run the evap system test. Remember, 0.12 inches of water is no pressure whatsoever. These are auto ranging graphs, so it looks dramatic that the pressure is dropping, but it's very, very little pressure. Let's see if we can see the purge solenoid. There's the purge solenoid. It's not purging, and vent solenoid is not venting right now. Now it's venting. So you can see the pressure increased when it vented. So we're going to take it for a road test now, and it should run the evap test because it's a cool start. It's about 19 Celsius this morning. So we're going to go for a little drive. So now you can see with 100% purge, it only hit about -6 inches of water, not -16. And there's no faults being reported. So I think we're going to give this back to the customer. So I'm cruising at 60 miles an hour and it's running about 100% purge, and you can see the pressure in the tank is -3, -2.58. So that's a far improvement over the -16 that it hit before, and there are no faults reported. It says fault history none. So we're gonna run it back to the shop and then see if the P0446 is running past or not. So I'm going to check it for codes. DTC displayed. No codes. And DTC status. Let's see if we can do P0446 search. This ignition cycle passed, since cleared passed, last test passed, history no. So that's good. It's run the test and passed it. So we're going to call this one fixed. Thanks for watching.